is Lit Happens, your celebration of the literary arts here in Saskatchewan. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Kiara Sparks. Now, Kiara is an advocate for epilepsy education and youth living with chronic illness. Her new book is called Just Like the Lotus, a remarkably honest account of a young girl's battle with epilepsy. Kiara, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you're quite young to have already published a book. Can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to this place where you have a book in your hand?
Well, it started out as a school project because I was so sick. I was missing so much school. I was determined to graduate on time. So my English teacher came up with, if I did 100 hours on a book, then I would graduate and it would count as a school credit. So I wrote the book. Most of it was actually spoken because I was in such a drug fog I couldn't focus when I was reading. So I'd rant into the phone, and then I'd get someone to type it up. And once it was done, I was actually going to throw it out. And my mom's like, "No, wait! Like, someone can use this. Someone can maybe have someone to relate to now." And so it started. That's how it became a book.
And so you have bits of prose, you have bits of poetry, you have your voice in this book, and you also have your mother's voice. So can you tell me a little bit about the choices you made and the different voices that we see when we open the pages?
Well, the part where I'm talking, a lot of it is, like I said, so when I was on all these pharmaceuticals, they just change who you are. Like, you're always angry, you're always sad. And this isn't like with all pharmaceuticals, but a lot of them. And when I wasn't there half the time because I was having seizures, my mom would step in because I don't remember half of my teenage life. So she fills in the blanks, the stuff that I don't remember. And the poetry was, I would write down like kind of how I was feeling and try to make it so that it was more artistic and so that someone could relate in a way that they couldn't if they were sitting, and I was just telling them my story.
So now your mom's a writer as well.
Yeah.
So did that have something to do with why you chose that path to write a book, to take on such a big project? 100 hours, 100 pages is a really big assignment.
Well, yeah, it is. And at first, I was like, okay, I can graduate if I do this. So I was already determined to do it. But I don't think I would have been able to do it if my mom was sitting by me like, okay, like try this, do this. Otherwise it would have just been an endless essay of what's going on. Like, what am I reading? Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, probably a little bit of a writer in your DNA as
well.
Oh,
with
Your
definitely.
mother.
Yeah.
So now, the publishing company, that's a family publishing company.
Yeah, Stoke Publishing. Yeah. Yeah, no, my mom made it, yeah.
Excellent. So do you, when you think about some of the memories in this book, do you have bits and pieces that are really poignant, things that when you look back or you flip through, are there things that are some of your favorite memories or the hardest things that you had to write about?
Yeah, a lot of them are really hard. Like, there's one called Iced Tea, and that's actually a poem, and how I have a scar on my face because I was slamming my head into concrete for about 20 minutes while I was having a seizure. And then there's another part where I went into status where they weren't sure what was going to happen to me because I had a seizure. They took me to the hospital, and before I recovered from the first one, I started having another seizure. And usually it's just me and my mom that deal with it, but then she called my dad because she wasn't sure what was going to happen, and she wasn't sure what she was going to go home with once I was out. So and I don't remember most of that. So actually, when I read it for the first time, like, I was crying because I had no idea that was what happened. So yeah, there's a lot of moments in there that were even surprising to me, and it's my book.
And so you've learned more about yourself and your experiences, and so what are some of the things that you do as an advocate? So as sharing your story is huge. So what kind of places do you do that advocacy work?
Well, there was an epilepsy awareness thing where I had my book and I signed books there, and a portion of all the book sales go to the Sask Epilepsy Fund, and basically just wherever I can talk about it, because people who are sick, and when I was sick, I didn't have anyone there for me other than my mom, but she couldn't understand 100%. Mm-hmm. And so having someone who's been in your place, who you can talk to or even just listen to, I'm not alone. There's someone else there. Yeah.
And so do you find that you talk to other young people and you have that conversation?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
not alone?
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's been at the signing table, there's been tears going both ways, and thank you for writing, thank you for being here. And like, I was actually holding up the line, and my mom's like, "Hey, like, you got to start signing books quicker," because I'd write like paragraphs of like telling people how to deal with things and like what I did and stuff. So yeah, it's like definitely lots of conversations and just yeah.
And I think that'll continue. You'll continue to meet people, and you, through this book, you'll, like you say, you'll help people to feel like they're not alone, and you'll also help people to sort of maybe inspire them to deal with things through the writing of poetry or writing down prose.
Yeah.
Have you always written poetry?
When I was little, I did it actually. Like, I was probably 7, and they're just goofy poems. And when I started getting really sick, I had all these emotions, and therapy and stuff wasn't really working, so I just started writing. And I was naturally a good writer in high school, so I gave it a shot, and eventually, like, it just started rolling out. And it's not the best poetry, but it's not the worst poetry. So, I mean, it's just something that kind of gets your mind off things, and it's therapeutic. So, yeah.
And so do you continue to write now?
Yeah.
So what kind of things are you writing at this time?
Well, I'm actually going to start working on a second book soon, because I was in such a drug fog when I wrote that. There's so much missing. It doesn't even hit the tip of the iceberg. So I need to write a second one, definitely.
And so on the same line, your story, continuing with your story and what's happened to you.
Yeah, and just with more detail.
And will you pull your mom in again as another voice in the book?
Yeah, and like, I think I need my mom and my brother, because my brother's not really in it. And he was actually there for me a lot of the times, but I don't remember him being there. So yeah,
Yeah, that'll be interesting to have him give you his stories, and that I think we often will look at our memories from just our own point of view, and when we can see what happened and what other people were looking, we can learn so much from who we are and about who we are.
Well, and the stories are so different from different perspectives, so that's what I really like about the book too.
Yeah. So where can people get your book?
They can get it at McNally, Delish Cafe, on Kindle, or Amazon.ca.
And do you have audiences that you wish could have easy access to this book? Are there people that you would say, "Oh, I wish I could get this into this person's hand"?
Like, just anyone who's struggling, like usually between like sixth grade and then all through high school, or anyone with a chronic illness who just needs to understand that there is someone out there who understands what you're going through, and you can have that imaginary shoulder to lean on. Yeah.
Well, and books can be such a safe haven, such a place of peace and rest for us at all different stages of our life when we need a place to, like you say, rest our heads.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kiara, it's really been nice to talking to you today.
Thank you.
I'm Danica Lorer, and this is Lit Happens. You can find past episodes by going to Shaw TV Saskatoon on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook or Twitter, and if you have a book you'd like to talk about or something else, you can contact me at danicalorer@gmail.com.